Hello, and thanks for joining me today. My name is Brittany Scharf, and I work for the University of Florida within the Florida Sea Grant program. I'm a marine biologist who studies all of the fascinating creatures that call the ocean their home. And today, I would like to highlight this marine mammal, Florida's manatee, and talk about how they stay warm when it gets cold outside. The word thermal refers to temperature. The word regulation means control. So thermal regulation means the same thing as controlling temperature. Mammals have many different ways to keep themselves warm when the weather's cold out, and to keep themselves cool when it's very hot out. What might you do to stay warm on a cold day? Maybe put on a jacket or stand in the sun? How might you cool off? Maybe put on some shorts and a t-shirt instead of those winter type clothes, or go in the water at the beach. These are all things that humans do for thermal regulation. There are just a few groups of mammals that live in the ocean: whales and dolphins, seals, sea lions, walruses, manatees, sea otters, polar bears. Each of these different groups of animals have different ways to keep warm. Marine mammals, such as whales, have very thick blubber layers. But what is blubber? Blubber is a special type of fat that functions just like a jacket. It's very efficient at holding in body heat. If a whale or a dolphin is out of the water for some reason, people need to be careful that it does not overheat. While people can take their jacket off if they get too hot, whales cannot take off their blubber. Whales have some other ways of staying warm. They can change the way their blood flows to keep the warm blood in the middle of their bodies instead of near the skin, where then the water could cool it down. This lets whales keep their heart, lungs, and other organs working even in cold water. When whales eat food that has a lot of fat in it, the calories in that food help make their bodies warm. Energy is then transferred from the food to the whale. Whales, dolphins, seals, sea lions, and even polar bears have blubber layers. But not all marine mammals have blubber. Sea otters have special hair that is extremely thick, and it holds air next to the sea otter's body. The air keeps the otter warm. Divers who dive in very cold water use a dry suit, which also traps air next to their body to help keep the person warm. Manatees do not have blubber, nor do they have special hair like a sea otter to help keep them warm. The walrus lives in Arctic environments that are very cold all year long. Walrus have massive amounts of blubber. Approximately 1/3 of their body weight is blubber. They're an important food source for Native Americans who require a lot of fat calories in their diet to survive the cold climate of the Arctic. Like whales, the walrus can make their blood flow towards the center of their bodies and away from icy water. In addition to blubber and other adaptations, seals and sea lions use behavior to help them keep warm or cool off. In this example, the sea lions are all crowding together on some rocks. The rocks are warmed by the sun, as are the sea lions. This is also close contact, which lets the animals share body heat. The light brown colored animals have already dried in the sun. The walrus are highly social and will cuddle together to conserve body heat. These sea lions are showing off a natural behavior that helps them cool off. By lifting a flipper out of the water, the blood, which is right under the skin, can be cooled down in the air. This helps cool the animal's body temperature. Here are some pictures of sea otters. This is the only marine mammal, other than the manatee, which does not have a blubber layer to keep it warm. Sea otters have very special and very thick, more than 1 million hairs per square inch, that traps a layer of air between the animal's skin and the ocean's water. This keeps the otter warm and also provides flotation. Anything that disturbs the hair, such as an oil spill, can be devastating to the sea otter. A sea otter with damaged fur will quickly die of hypothermia in cold water. Now that we have talked about different methods that other marine mammals use to stay warm, we can talk about manatees. Manatees are relatively tropical animals. They cannot live year-round farther north than Florida because they can't survive in cold water. When water temperatures fall below 68 degrees Fahrenheit, manatees become cold stressed. This means that they can become sick and die. Many young manatees die when Florida has severe cold weather. In early 2010, more than 400 manatees died, which was a record number, and most died because of cold water temperatures. Water temperatures near Flagler County were in the 40 degrees Fahrenheit range in January of 2010. This is far too cold for manatees. So what do manatees do to stay warm? They have to swim to water with warmer temperatures. Springs have naturally warm water in the winter, and some power plants pump warm water into coastal areas, which creates warm places where manatees can spend the winter months. There are underground lakes called aquifers. Most people in Florida get their drinking water from aquifers. Sometimes the water in an aquifer comes up to the surface and creates a spring. The water in the spring is usually 72 degrees Fahrenheit all year long. This water feels really cold in the summer, but feels really warm in the winter. Power plants have become a source for artificially warmed water for manatees. Since manatees learn to migrate to warm water from their mom, some young animals do not know where the natural warm water sites are. They only know to go to power plants. The problem with this is that if that power plant is turned off for any reason, the manatees will still go to the power plant's location in the winter. If there is no warm water, they stay by the power plant and often die. These pictures show manatees crowding into power plant basins in the winter. If you look carefully, you can see the warm water that is being pumped into the bay. It's white and frothy. The manatees only crowd like this when the water temperatures in the nearby waterways are cold. This is a reason that state biologists from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission count manatees in the cold weather. If it is very cold for at least 3 days in a row, the biologists will fly in small airplanes over areas where manatees are gathered, and then they will count how many manatees they see. In December of 2009, when it stayed cold for so long, more than 5,000 manatees were counted. Can you count the manatees in these pictures? It's not easy. So why do manatees need to stay warm? Remember, manatees need to stay warm because they are tropical or near tropical animals. They don't have blubber layers or any other means of staying warm that other marine mammal species have. Manatees migrate into Florida springs each winter to stay warm when the temperatures in the surrounding waters fall below 68 degrees Fahrenheit. In general, water from these springs is a constant 72 degrees Fahrenheit and will help keep the manatees warm. If the cold weather lasts for too long, as it did in late 2009 and early 2010, it can make it very hard for the manatees to feed because they then must leave the springs and travel into cold water to find their food. Now let's review what we have just learned. Marine mammals have different ways to stay warm during the winter. Some have blubber that helps to insulate them, while others use thick fur to stay warm or must move to warmer water. Because sea otters do not have blubber, they use their thick fur to trap air and to hold that air against their body and stay warm. Manatees also do not have blubber, so they must swim to areas with warmer water, such as springs and power plants. These areas are great places to view manatees during the winter months. Great job! You've learned a lot about mammals today. This concludes Lesson 9, Manatees Need Warm Water to Survive. Be sure to check out our other chapters to learn more.